Hi Taurus, welcome to your July 2015 Tarotscope. It's Raina here, and I see a lot of love in your future. And the reason I say that is I picked 4 cards, and 3 of them were Cups cards, which relate to the emotional life. And the last one was the Lover's card, which is in the Major Arcana, and is self-explanatory. So in any case, let me talk a little bit about some of the astrological transits and kind of weave it into the cards that I picked. So on the first of the month, we have a full moon in Capricorn, almost 10 degrees, 9:20 p.m. Central Standard Time, and this will fall in your ninth house. So ninth house matters will be illuminated. There might be a culmination for some of you related to anything in the philosophical area. Higher education, you might be finishing some university course or maybe even your degree. It could have to do with a publishing venture because the ninth house deals with that as well. Maybe you're going to be traveling overseas and you find out about that, you learn about that, or maybe you're coming back from a trip. In any case, your ninth house has really been quite revolutionized because you have a long-term transit of Pluto in the ninth that's just been kind of purifying and totally rejuvenating your values, your life philosophy, the way that you think about higher education, the way that you think about God. All of these things will be changed radically until 2024 because this is a very long-term transit. And Capricorn is actually a very friendly sign to you. It forms a trine because you guys are fellow earth signs. So it's at a great angle. There's nothing bad about that. It's just that it seems to me, Taurus, that you are going to undergo amazing changes in the next, I would say, 9 years until that transit of Pluto ends. You may have already seen this in yourself because you have Uranus in the 12th house, and that means that you can have some unexpected mystical experiences. Suddenly you have psychic abilities, or you have some, vibrational shift. And, I think in general that's true of our society, talk of ascension, raising our vibratory rate. So it's not just you, but this 12th house transit of Uranus kind of makes it much more of a surprising, gives much more of a surprising aspect element to it. So the card that I picked to represent the energy coming into July was the Five of Cups in reverse. And this card is actually more positive in its reversed position because it deals with a person who is recovering from some sort of emotional loss or abandonment, that sort of thing. And I'm not suggesting that June is the time when you experience this loss. It could have been last winter, but in June, it will be the time when you begin healing from whatever this is. Or maybe it's starting in May you begin to heal. Because, Taurus, you guys tend to hold on to things a long time. And, sometimes you hold grudges for quite a long time. And so healing can only happen when you begin to accept whatever is happening. And I'm thinking that this is of a romantic nature just because the other cards that I picked, but it might not be. It might have nothing to do with that. It might be a friendship. It might be someone in your family. But I will say that there's an alternate interpretation where the Fifth of Cups reverse can mean that you're going to renew a relationship with someone with whom you were separated. So that's an even more positive possibility that I'm going to put out there for you. But if you have had some kind of a rift or divorce, separation, that sort of thing, at least you're on the upswing as you go into July. And so then I picked the second card, which is for the first half of July, and I picked the King of Cups. And this can literally mean your father or your stepfather if you have one, someone who you look to as a father figure who gives you wise counsel, or who is very sensitive to your needs, who is able to help you, deal with your issues. And this could be a counselor for hire. This could be an actual counselor. But somebody, I will say that it probably has a male energy to it because it's a king, and will be figuring prominently for the first half of July. Now, it could just simply mean your father will be in your life in a greater capacity than is usual, and that's why this card is turning up. But with it being in the cups position, it's a sensitive energy. It's a nurturing energy. So it's something very healing for you. And it could also be like a minister, a pastor, a rabbi, some other, religious figure. Could be somebody in authority, a doctor, somebody who is a professional, but who is also sensitive. And so that was the second card I got. And so kind of going into this mid part of the month, on July 15th at 8:24 p.m. Central Standard Time, we have the new moon in the sign of Cancer at 23 degrees. And this will fall in your third house. And looking at the cards that I've drawn, I wouldn't be surprised if some of you meet someone online that turns out to be a marriage partner, a lifelong mate, because the third house rules the internet and other forms of communication. And the fact that the last card I picked was a lover's card, and that's supposed to be symbolic of the month of July, means that there will be people falling in love born under the sign of Taurus, or possibly Taurus rising. So having that new moon in the third house and knowing it's about communications means that you could communicate with someone that turns out to have a significant impact on your life. And it's not lost on me that Taurus is ruled by Venus. And so you guys probably would be considered born romantic. So that is totally awesome sauce. And actually, Mercury will be going from your second house into your third house on July 9th until the 23rd of July. So when Mercury is in that third house, it's going to be very busy with these communications because the sun will be there as well in Cancer, and Mars is even going to be there all month. So I really think that some of you might be doing some internet hookups. And, it could be as simple as a Facebook situation. Oh, remember me in high school? Well, I always was in love with you. So on July 19th, Venus will be entering your fifth house in the sign of Virgo. And shortly after that, on the 25th, we'll be going retrograde there. So what might happen is it might really be some sort of person that you used to know who comes back into your life, because Venus in retrograde can bring back those sorts of old flames. And given these other cards, it's a real possibility. Now, if you're married and you're not looking, then it might be just strengthening your primary relationship. It could be something like that. But very interesting. So then I picked for the second half of July the Seven of Cups, which is a card that can be very fantasy oriented. It's again another Cups card, another card related to the emotional self, but there's a little bit of fairy dust sprinkled on it. And so you might not be thinking clearly, you might be living in some illusion about a situation, but it also can sometimes point to having to make a choice. And in this case with cups, it could be different partners. Should I be with this person or that person? And especially since this month seems very oriented towards romance and activated in that sense, that might be a real possibility. But the general advice is to choose wisely and to realize that you might be under a spell of sorts. You might be a little bit misty-eyed, and you have to be clear-headed about your decision. And as I said, the overall theme of the month of July for you is the Lover's card. It's in the Major Arcana, and it really directly relates to the love relationship. It can relate to sexual passion. It can relate to maybe even conceiving a child. So with that fifth house activity after the 19th, that's also a possibility. So please be aware of that if you don't want to bring a life into the world at this time. And in any case, it's a very romantic period for you. The interesting facet of July, I think, is that we have a blue moon. Blue moon. And it's going to happen on the last day of July, on the 31st at 5:43 a.m. Central Standard Time. A blue moon is when you have two full moons in 1 month. This one is going to be at almost 8 degrees Aquarius in your 10th house. So it can point to some sort of developments related to your career. Some of you might be moving on from a certain position, or you might be changing direction in your career. You come to a realization, but it will be on the last day, just like we had a full moon on the first day. So that's kind of an unusual energy, because it's like, actually having a full moon on the last day of the month makes perfect sense. But on the first of the month, it's kind of like hello, goodbye, or goodbye, hello. And it's reminds me of all of these new moons we've been having in the what they call the critical degrees of the sign, the last couple of degrees. And that indicates major shifts, new directions. So this also seems symbolic of endings, of sorts. And I think for you, you might be kind of revisiting some relationships that, or at least one significant one. Maybe it's the one that got away and you reunite with that person. So it's very interesting, Taurus. I really think that's an interesting spread for you to get. And I hope that you enjoyed this. I want to say to everyone who subscribed and who liked and commented on my videos, I really appreciate it. It is an honor to do this. I'm just starting out with my forecasts, and it was very encouraging to see all of this positive energy directed towards me. So I do appreciate it greatly. I'll be back in a few weeks, and we're going to talk about August.